this is the central location. If they're on 28th and Lexington, or over here working the track, they can drop their money off in the McDonald's to him.
I went on a walk in Midtown Manhattan the other day with a young woman who used to work these streets. She was sold for sex by a succession of pimps while she was still a minor.
They're sitting most of the time in a restaurant waiting for their money, and if the girl doesn't call back when they first get on their date, then they worry, and if they worry, they're going to beat the hell out of you when you get home.
And how many years were you in the life?
About 2.5, 3 years.
She escaped that life, and her testimony helped send a number of pimps to prison. One is serving a 25-year sentence. But these days, she reserves perhaps her greatest anger, not for those pimps serving time, but for the companies that abetted them.
I guarantee you, if you had came out late tonight in this area or in 28th and Lexington and watched, you're going to see a whole bunch of pimps recruiting girls. And if you listen to their pitch is that you don't have to walk outside anymore. I can do it so that you just stay in a hotel and travel the world. And you know how this is possible? Because of websites like Backpage.
Backpage is an online international marketplace featuring listings for nearly everything imaginable, including escorts. Backpage is owned by Village Voice Media, a company that also owns the estimable Village Voice newspaper. Village Voice Media makes $22 million annually from its adult ads, according to industry estimates, and it's now the premier website for human trafficking in the United States, according to America's attorneys general. Village Voice Media says that it has put in place controls to try to prevent trafficking. But my view is they aren't working. In my office, overlooking the streets where she was once sold, I heard stories of how children are put at risk. If you go to Backpage and you see ads where girls say that they're 18, in fact, a lot of those girls are younger.
14, 15. I know a lot of the girls that I worked with, that the pimps that I dealt with turned out, we'd placed it for 18, the younger girls, the youngest ones that they could have, we put 18 for. If they were like 16 or 17, we'd put 19.
She told me that she began working as a prostitute at 16, after she left a broken home and a crack-addicted mother in a poor part of Boston. Seeking shelter, she says she was preyed upon by a man she didn't realize was a pimp.
For a while, I thought that when I first met him that we were going to be boyfriend and girlfriend forever. In a sick, twisted way, I assumed that I would never go through this, because you hear stories of girls being sexually exploited in your community, but you never think that that's going to be you.
She was emotionally and economically vulnerable, and soon there was no escape.
He would get aggressive and strangle me and physically assault me and threaten to sell me to someone that was more violent than him, which he eventually did.
After dropping out of high school, she says she was bought and sold by more than 6 pimps who took her up and down the East Coast. Sometimes she worked the streets, and sometimes her pimp worked the internet.
All he'd have to do is go online before we left, place our ads the night before, and have them saying we're visiting for a certain period of time. We'd have our appointments booked so that as soon as we got to the city, each of us would have dates lined up and waiting for us.
During our walk through Times Square, she pointed out where some of those appointments took place.
This front one right in front of us, this big old building right here, the one with the Christmas lights on it, been in this building over a dozen times. Different clients each time, sometimes the same client. Backpage makes it easier because the men can buy whatever they need. They can buy rugs for their wives, gifts for their children, and buy a child as well.
There's now a petition on change.org calling on Village Voice Media to change its ways, and it's attracted more than 90,000 signatures. Village Voice Media, it's your move.